Hi, everyone. Welcome to the I'm Blown podcast. In this podcast, we put together a conversation for you, a cultural oddity or a marketing nuance, something interesting, and then we pull a thread and we see what unravels over there.
And today's I'm Blown moment has a very interesting statistic behind it. Did you know that in India, 7% of the households have an air conditioning? May seem surprising, but what really surprises me is that 40% of the households have washing machines. Why is that gulf there?
It's incredible. It's just amazing compared to the various household goods that people have, that this gap between washing machines and air conditioners is what it is.
Let's get into it. So I was reading this document the other day, which was comparing the monthly expenditure of Indian household between 2012 and 2023. And while that's interesting, and we know that the GDP has grown, the per capita expenditure has grown, there was one data point that I found supremely interesting, and I wasn't aware of this, and it kind of blew my mind, which is that only 7% of the households in India have an air conditioner, which, of course, may not seem surprising. But when I compare it to something like a mobile phone's 92, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Compare it to scooters, over 50-60%, explainable. But let's say compare it to washing machine. Washing machine was 40%. That's quite a gulf.
It's a huge gap. It is.
Let's get into it. Let's understand what's really driving this.
I mean, just to take another example, televisions. Of course, television is now slowing down a little bit because of mobile phones. And as we know, the internet has helped mobile phones and other personal devices.
Yeah.
But you're right, the gulf between air conditioners and washing machines is something completely unexpected to me as well. When we talked about this fact the first time, we were both very surprised. Going into it a little deeper, I think, and this is despite India being a very hot country. So that's it. Notwithstanding that fact, air conditioners are not. And one of the things that seems to be a factor is that Indians are okay with discomfort, but they're not okay with drudgery. So even though we, famously Indians have a lot of help at home, etc., but as long as you're doing the washing yourself, which is still true in many homes in India, you'd rather get rid of that drudgery as a housewife, far more importantly than the discomfort that even heat causes you. So that seems to be one psychological factor in play here, that the washing machine comes before an air conditioner in decision making for households.
So if you sort of double click on that, what you're essentially saying is that Indians potentially have a greater threshold for discomfort, which is caused because of the heat.
Physical discomfort. As opposed to drudgery.
Whereas the drudgery of day-to-day washing is something that they want to sort of let go of, and a washing machine sort of does.
There might be something like that in play. Another one that comes straight away to mind is the cost factor. Air conditioners are typically in that 30 to 40,000, starting at 25, 30,000, that kind of ticket size. Whereas obviously washing machines are a lot lower, sometimes even under 10,000 or closer to a 10, 15,000, depending on what kind of washing machine you're buying, or a little bit more, whatever. But the bigger cost difference is in the running cost of an air conditioner, right? That to me may be the biggest element in this whole decision-making process, because running an air conditioner, number one, if you have an air conditioner, you're likely to run it for large periods of time during the day. Whereas washing machines are maybe for an hour or 2 hours, and that's it during the day. The washing gets done, and that's the end of it.
I don't entirely agree on the initial cost. And I'm saying that not because I've done a research, but recently when I bought two top-end, I bought a top-end air conditioner and a top-end washing machine, and both were around the range between the 30-40. So it seemed to me at least
similar.
Well, at the bottom end, maybe there's a
gap,
and we should look at that. But one thing I totally agree is this sort of running cost of an air conditioner. While it's essentially true, but I can imagine that everyone knows that the air conditioner, and that's true, pulls more electricity out than a washing machine. And that brings it back to the emotional conversation, that air conditioners provide you the sort of emotional ambivalence. By that I mean that while it gives you comfort, the trepidation of the electricity bill is this friction that people go through.
Absolutely.
And what we've also seen is, while even people have air conditioners, so even the 7% of India that have air conditioners, they don't necessarily run it through the day. They do sort of a part-time, let's cool it up for a bit and then remove it. and part space. Let's keep one air conditioner on and everyone's going to sleep in that same bedroom. So now that you mention it, it's, thinking about my experience, I'm servicing our air conditioner once a year at least. Just before the summer hits, there's a guy coming and servicing all our air conditioner. But I don't remember servicing my washing machine at any point in time. Forget that. The biggest trepidation I have is that the guy will come in and say, boss, aapka gas level na wo kam ho gaya. I'm like, oh my God, how do I fix that? But even then, the ambivalence of having comfort with the trepidation of this machine that's sort of running, totally agree. I'll throw another one at you. The value of substitutes. Now, yes, a large set of people come home. For a large set of households, there are people coming home and doing their, cleaning of clothes. For a large set of people, it's them doing it themselves.
Yeah.
So the substitute is not as good against the washing machine.
Right.
But the substitutes to air conditioning, which is a cooler, especially in the north,
or even ceiling fans.
Or even ceiling fans,
Absolutely.
are pretty good. And I don't think consumers are seeing the delta
It's possible.
incremental, and therefore it's considered to be just a modern tool, but not that much of a delta compared to, let's say, having a washing machine and then, it's just removing the drudgery, as they say.
I think there is that factor of what is the difference it's going to make in my life, and what am I? It's a value for money. Typical Indian mindset of figuring out value versus the money I'm going to spend. There's another little nuance. I was going down the rabbit hole on this, Sid, and I found a very interesting element of infrastructure. Now, for example, in tier 2, tier 3 towns, which is where the numbers will come in from the future, there is a very interesting added element of infrastructure of homes, of wiring and things like that. So apparently when you install an air conditioner, the wiring in a typical tier 2, tier 3 town is not strong enough, is not heavy duty enough to take care of an air conditioner. So as a result, you have to get an installation done. The wiring and all has to be changed to be able to support, and the meter and everything has to be a heavy duty one to take care of an AC. Now, in a Delhi or a Bombay or a Bangalore, we don't think of these things because the home is already well, set up to take care of something like. But apparently in tier 3 and tier 4 towns, this is a big factor that, you have, and of course, electricity is unreliable. There are long hours of load shedding. So you've got this lovely AC in the home, but you don't have the electricity. What you're going to do? Now that doesn't affect the washing machine because the washing machine doesn't have to run for 5, 6, 8 hours. So that infrastructure bit is an important element as well for penetration.
That's a bit of a light bulb moment because, like you said, intuitively when I move houses in Delhi, I'm assuming there's an AC connection. I've taken it for granted.
Absolutely.
And now it strikes me, when we're having conversation with consumers in smaller towns and villages. One consumer told me, "Sir, main apna ghar bana raha hu." And he was taking us through. This is AC ke liye wiring kar raha hu, but AC baad mein le lunga. So he says, I'm not going to buy an AC right now, but I'm thinking ahead. Right now, I'm not in a position to buy an AC for various reasons. But I'm thinking ahead, I'm setting the wiring. And it didn't strike me then. But you're right. There is a infrastructural problem that might not be leading to AC penetration. Another
Tangential thought just came to my mind, which is that, there's always a trigger of having arrived. Now, it used to be, for many people, a car at one time. It used to be a two-wheeler for a lot of people, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It became the car. Smartphones became a great trigger. Apple iPhones are this, you've arrived kind of moment. I'm wondering whether air conditioners are that, especially in certain strata of society. Air conditioner has become this arrival moment because you've got everything else sorted and you're now able to get an AC. So, you're kind of close the box in that sense.
I did some research and I'm a marketing guy. So my favorite thing to do is to go back on all sorts of advertising and seeing, has there been an advertiser impact on, the purchase of these products?
Right.
And interesting enough, I noticed a few things. If you look at two-wheeler advertising, two-wheeler is almost 60-70% penetration. Two-wheeler advertising has always been built on progress. It's a sign of progress. It's a sign of identity. It's also been built on enabler. If you see two-wheeler advertising, you'll always have a father dropping a child to school.
Right.
The family going out, 4 of them in a
life-changing in that sense.
Life-changing. You'll see a person with loading his boxes and taking them to work. So it's always codified on progress. It's always codified as enablers. Similarly, washing machine has always been codified as an enabler. This is saving your time. Women empowerment. Air conditioning advertising has always been about comfort. It's never been about enabler, right? It's never said that this is helping you be more productive. This is helping you sleep better. And I think there's something there because what air conditioning manufacturers probably codified is that this is not an enabler. This is pure indulgence. And like you said, indulgence will be the last thing that it's the last discretionary spend.
The lowest level of
and
desire.
Maybe there's something there that if you sort of build air conditioning as an enabler, and I truly believe that if you remove heat, it will make many people productive. My point I'm trying to make is that I'm not sure of enablers, that therefore I disagree to some extent. Air conditioning is not a sign of arrival. Because I don't think people will see it that way. Maybe we can position it that way, and maybe we can. But I think the better positioning will be that this is a true enabler to a better life, to be more productive, to do greater things, and more aspiration. I have one more.
Sure.
This is not necessarily saying that this has derailed you, but this is to talk about, is there a different way to think about air conditioners, and who's going to influence the decision of purchase of air conditioners? If you think about, again, this is basis my understanding of advertising. The washing machine is very collective in its approach. It's about the family, the woman, so on and so forth. The scooter, while it's the man riding it, but it's really driving a collective identity. Air conditioning advertising has always been about that one person just, getting comfort. There is a collectivist angle there. And one of the things that air conditioning manufacturers can potentially do is to say, listen, while the chief wage earner is the one who's sort of spending the money in buying that, there is a very core influencer in the household who thinks about progress. And that's the mother. Right? Because the mother, and surprisingly enough, when you talk about air conditioning and understanding air conditioning, the mother in that tier 2, tier 3, SEC, C, D household, which today doesn't have an air conditioner, will know more about air conditioners and the impact on the electricity. And they have to be told, or they have to be marketed to say, listen, how this is going to be an enabler to you. So maybe the mother in the household is the one who actually influences the arrival of an air conditioner in the household.
Especially for the children. Especially from a point of view of better sleep, better education, smarter kids, etc. Which is all true. Sleep is a huge enabler, as we are aware, in growing children. And as a result, I think we definitely should be considering that. I think that's a good idea. I think we should look at that from a marketing perspective as well.
Got it. Very interesting.
All right, Sid, we've made a lot of interesting points. So just a quick, maybe 1 minute recap. We've talked about the running costs, which is a major factor for any household to make a decision. And I think ACs cost a lot to run, and also infrastructure, wiring and reliability of electricity. All these are factors in a decision. What else can we?
So just to double down, the cost is just not the front end cost, but the running cost, which is far more than washing machine. So it's not as simple a decision as buying washing machine. So I agree with you on that one. Number 2, I think washing machine has been positioned as an enabler. That it's made your life better, remove drudgery. Whereas air conditioning is still indulgence, and therefore comfort indulgence. So that's the last thing I'll spend on in India, especially when I'm constrained with money in that sense. So that's another reason, I think.
And I think it should be pushing that forward. We talked about it, that probably marketers need to talk about how comfort goes beyond simply feeling better into being better and being able to be an enabler for children, for family, and so on.
Got it. And just to progress that thought, we think that air conditionings have been built as a very individual comfort, but there is a collectivist conversation about the family and how to help the family progress. And that's something that might be holding back air conditioning more than washing machines in that sense.
Absolutely. The first time we heard this, I think it was an amazing unblown fact. And I think there's a lot of headroom for air conditioners to grow, and I can see that happening in the next decade or so. Okay, Sid, so let's call it a wrap. This is a great episode. We've gone down the rabbit hole with a great unblown fact again. We'll be back with the next episode with another unblown fact.
Yeah, we're loving these conversations, and in case you guys have any feedback, you guys have any points that you think we missed out, don't hesitate to write in. And if there's any other fact that you want us to pull open, we're more than happy to do it. We love this, and we look forward to the next session as well.
So that's it. Thank you very much. Bye.
See you guys soon.